Welcome to another episode of Journeys in Entrepreneurship. Today, we have John Tani Obaro, the Group Managing Director of SystemSpecs Holding Limited, a foremost financial technology and human resources solutions provider. John Obaro founded SystemSpecs in 1992 as a West African partner to System Union UK, offering the Sun System suite of solutions. The company soon started developing its proprietary payroll and human resource management solution, Human Manager, which has become the preferred choice for many leading public and private sector organizations, including SMEs in Nigeria and West Africa. SystemSpecs also developed Remita, a leader in the Nigerian e-payment space. It enables efficient and easy payment and collection of funds for individuals and corporate organizations on a single interbank platform. John's successful entrepreneurial adventure in software development architecture has attracted and continues to attract attention from local and international quarters. Interviewing him is Precious Aleaji, the co-founder of Stylebitt, a fashion tech startup developing the operating system to enable fashion businesses in Africa thrive and succeed. He has been named a global change maker by the African Development Bank. Precious believes technology can be used to solve real-world problems. He's a strong advocate for sustainable fashion and is working to build a more ethical and eco-friendly fashion industry. Join us as we listen to their journeys in entrepreneurship in the technology space.
Hello everyone, I'm Precious Aleaji, the co-founder of Stylebitt. Welcome to Journeys in Entrepreneurship Season 3. With me today is Mr. John Tani Obaro, a technology luminary that builds SystemSpecs. If you've ever interacted with the government on any level, you've ever had to pay online, you've ever had to register your business or do something similar, you must have used Remita, a product of SystemSpecs. And today, we have the good fortune of speaking with him and learning from his journey over the past 44 years. Good afternoon, Mr. John.
Thank you.
I would like to ask you a couple of questions and learn from your experience over the years, starting with your background. You've transformed the face of technology in Nigeria. You built fintech before we even knew what fintech was. And I'd like to dive into your background to learn from you what your motivations are, what drove you to start SystemSpecs, and the founding story of SystemSpecs.
Thank you very much for those flattery words. My head is swell. I actually studied computer science, mathematics with computer science, finished 79, and did an MBA at Unilag. Worked briefly thereafter trying to sell computers for about 6 months. I failed. I didn't succeed in selling any. So I knew I had to go back to my base, which is software. I moved into the banking industry, spent about 10 years in the banking industry, where I learned a lot about opportunities. And from there, I saw the need, a wide gap especially in the private sector, in the use of computers in Nigeria. And that was what gave birth to SystemSpecs. So I started SystemSpecs in 1992, and by God's grace, we've been running since then. We started out by representing a UK firm to implement their solutions, sell and implement their solutions in Nigeria. It's called Sun Systems, part of the Info Group now, an ERP platform. And from there, we created our payroll package, which today is known as Human Manager. I'm just skipping some of the points on getting to Human Manager itself. And then from Human Manager, we gave birth to Remita about 15, 16 years ago. And people know us more for Remita. But Remita and Human Manager are two of our main products. We have a number of other products on the sideline, but let me leave that at that now.
Yeah, thank you so much. While you spoke, You mentioned phases of a journey. Do you mind sharing with us some of the challenges you faced while building SystemSpecs?
Well, I guess one of the major challenges, staff retention. We've gone through at least maybe 2 or 3 major phases of mass staff exit. And we're in the middle of another, as everybody knows, the current Japa syndrome. It's a very destructive challenge, so we have that. And then the second one is that you operate in an environment, with all due respect to governments generally, that have struggled to appreciate the worth of intellectual contribution to society. That can be very discouraging by itself. So those are 2 of the major challenges that we've had to battle with.
Thank you so much, sir. Over the years, you've managed to develop disruptive technology across multiple sectors. Do you mind sharing with us your playbook for identifying the right opportunity and moving on it?
Well, incidentally, one of the things that I try to do is to say, what are the challenges that I have? Anything that is a challenge to you is actually an opportunity. So if you see something you're struggling with, you're not the only one struggling with it. If you can come up with a solution for it, then there probably will be a market for it. So like I said, we had Sun Systems, which was our first product. It wasn't our own product. We were representing the agents in Nigeria. But we had staff to pay. And we couldn't be paying them manually. Of course, for the first few months, you're just struggling and using spreadsheets. And then we had to think of coming up with a software to prepare payroll. And then you now had to start managing staff information, leave, performance appraisals, and all of that had to start coming in. Pensions, which you had to calculate. This was before the current PENCOM Act. So we came up with those solutions. And then we're having reconciliation challenges. We came up with a product which we call SpecRec. Okay, our first products were the SpecPay, SpecMan, and then we had SpecRec. SpecRec failed, and we quickly dropped it. Okay, and we now brought the ones that succeeded together to form Human Manager. So Human Manager actually came in from the payroll and the human resource application. And then when you want to pay to the bank, you had the challenge of again having to send manual instructions to the bank. And that was part of how we started thinking of Remita. Then when the PENCOM Act was created by the Obasanjo regime around 2004, we already saw that there would be a need, to have an efficient platform to send staff data to PENCOM. When you finish your payment of salaries, you will need to pay PFAs. So we saw an opportunity there, and that catalyzed development of Remita. So Remita actually started out as a solution to pay salaries and pension to PFAs. And then we now saw that, look, you also need to do something for taxes, because you can have staff across different states. So we then decided that, look, why don't you have a solution that at the press of a button, salaries are paid to staff account, pension paid to PFA accounts, taxes paid to the relevant states. If there are cooperatives, payments made to all necessary parties at the touch of a button. So we started out by wanting to solve our own problems. I leave that there.
That's amazing. So at this stage, this would have been mostly individual companies that used a lot of the human management solutions. But as you progressed and you developed Remita, it became a product that the government really adopted. And in fact, Remita really helped transform the way governments do business on multiple levels. Today, a lot of entrepreneurs are actually averse to the idea of working with government. What would be your advice around working with the government in as a customer from an innovation standpoint, and also working with the government from a policy standpoint?
Incidentally, one of your questions, which you asked, part of my regrets and challenges, and I would say working with government, it has its pros, it has its cons. We did not start out working with government. But one of the sad issues I deal with today is that many people think Remita is about government. That is wrong. Okay, we actually had operated for how many years before we talked to the central bank that, look, since we're now doing a number of things in the financial movement space, would we need a financial license or not? Nobody was sure. This was even before the term fintech became a thing worldwide. So we applied to CBN just to acquaint them with what we were doing. And so they gave us a no objection letter. It wasn't a license, it was a no objection letter. And after about 1 or 2 years, they came in and said, just to review what we were doing. And it was in the process of the review that one conversation led to another. That, you mean the platform can do this? The platform can do this? Please come over to Abuja. Then we now went to Abuja, made presentations to multi-stakeholder meetings. That was what gave birth to TSA conversations. Okay, because at that point in time, working with the World Bank, there was a need for TSA, but they said there was no technology to do it, and the project was going to be suspended for 2 years. When they now saw Remita, Remita can do this. Everybody fell in love, and that's how we got into government. It was fun at the beginning, but you also have the political side of government, and for somebody who really wants to do pure tech, it's very, very distracting. And I'll tell you, it's one of the major things we've had to deal with. I know many people will say, oh, there's a lot of money in government, and therefore you want to go into government. But as a young entrepreneur, I would say find a way of building your business, preferably outside government. Sad truth, build your business. When you are stable enough, then you can experiment to see if you can survive it. Otherwise, the business may die even before you take off.
So, during your conversation now, you mentioned that you started with a level of advocacy. You went out to talk to the central bank, and then they decided that, we would give a letter that just allows you to continue your business. That's like a lot of work between your business and the government. How have that evolved over the years to become to help in policy formation and the kind of interaction that enables the government to know that, these are people who are doing something and we need to support them from the policy standpoint?
After our first meeting with the central bank guys, a sort of good relationship then developed, and a lot of committees were set up to advise on Vision 2020, different visions on financial inclusion. And we've had the privilege of being invited to serve in some of these committees. So a good number of my staff were chairing a number of these committees. And that gave an opportunity to be able to interact and add value. And of course, other areas of government need that too. We've been involved. And then, of course, some industry associations. So you have the NCS, the ISPON, and very lately the FinTech Nigeria group, which has, within a very short time, stabilized and really adding value. So under this kind of industry platforms, we're able to engage other arms of government. Incidentally, today, again, one of my staff is part of a delegation in Abuja to meet with the Minister of Communications, Dr. Tijani, on how the industry can further work with him to face the challenges of the economy.
All right, sir. So, over the years, as you've built SystemSpecs, there have been a lot of innovative ideas and solutions coming out of the business, both internally and externally. A good example would be Team Apt, which is now MoneyPoint, that was recognized recently as the second fastest growing company in Africa. How have you been able to manage an innovative environment within your company, as well as a level of commitment that allows people to stay?
The interesting thing is that no one product is the idea of one man. Okay, a lot of brainstorming goes on, a lot of cross-value add. So yeah, you may come up with an idea, but you have all these young people coming with different perspectives, and by the time we beat it all together, you have a product like Remita. Okay, so Team Apt, which you mentioned, oh, by the way, I prefer the name Team Apt to Money Point. I mean, some young guys, the main founder came out of InterSwitch, but some of the other guys came out of SystemSpecs, and they've done quite some interesting things. I mean, I respect them for what they're doing. They've gone beyond just copying, what is already in place. Many entrepreneurs I see today, they just want to copy what somebody else has done, exactly what somebody else has done. So it gets very interesting when you see people doing things that are creative and different, rather than copy-paste.
Thank you so much, sir. So today, the funding and VC landscape is not as bubbling as it was about 2 years ago. And investors are not so interested in looking at very, very early stage company as much as they used to. During the time you were building SystemSpecs, the VC market was almost non-existent. How were you able to fund the business from start? And how have that evolved as you grew from one stage to the other?
Like you said, the VC funding market is drying up. The honest truth is, I never understood it, even 2 years ago that you said. I mean, I just couldn't understand some of the numbers that were flying around. I couldn't comprehend them. So I guess the rubber has hit the road. People are now beginning to do the numbers, I would say, more correctly. When we started SystemSpecs, in the first place, not many people even understood what software was. So there weren't many people you could go to give you money to support what they didn't understand. One of the few people who wanted to support me, I needed about ₦1 million to start the business. He agreed to give 300, but eventually was able to give 100. And even that, after a few years, he exited when he saw that the company was doing well and he needed some capital, some cash. So it's difficult then, it was difficult then to get venture capitals because people didn't even understand the business, at least in this part of the world. Banks, absolutely not an option. And so you have to be creative, What I did back in the day was to run training programs for the first part of SystemSpecs. Training programs that people could relate with. And that gave us opportunity to raise cash to build the software business. So I knew training was not what we wanted to do, but it was a means to an end, and it really helped. And by God's grace, we had good support from colleagues. It was also a time when the Babangida regime had liberalized the banking industry. So I used to work in a bank called International Merchant Bank, and a good number of the top executives of all the banks came out of IMB. So it was a little easier for me to go around all these banks to get patronage for our training programs.
That's amazing. Today we don't really think about revenue as one really good way of funding our business, but from your story I see that it's actually a very strong way through which we can fund very new ventures. Thank you so much, sir. So you graduated from Ahmadu Bello University as far back as 1979, and since then you've been able to change the face of software in Nigeria. Last year you got the Lifetime Achievement Special Award from the CIO Awards, and you've served on the board and in the leadership of a lot of industry organizations. How would you say this? What would you say is the state of software in Nigeria right now, and how do you see that evolving in the future?
Yeah, thank you. Except that when I hear things like lifetime achievement, legend, it gives the impression that this man is an old man. I'm not old though. We are in a tech space, and it's for all young minds. So I'm young at heart. and I'm part of the game, and I still hope to be part of the game for quite some time to come. The tech space is a very interesting place. You are learning every day, and one of my play area now is AI. I'm scared at the kind of things that AI can do, because it's going to send all of us back to school.
Currently in Nigeria, we really don't have I don't know. I don't know if we have like a company that is developing like first-class models, the way companies like OpenAI are doing currently. So what do you think like the future holds, and how do you think that could evolve within our own local environment?
I mean, there are a number of things. There are different areas in software you can focus on. We don't necessarily need to be at the very top from day one. I would rather even want to focus on immediate application areas that affect our day-to-day living in Nigeria. And there are a number of tools you can use to begin to put some of these things together. So some of those tools, do you need to begin to reinvent them yourself? Maybe not. Okay. So, and some of these things are indeed very, very expensive. The kind of money you need to put together OpenAI, the whole economy of Nigeria for many years to come, cannot even scratch that in the surface. But when they've put things together, we can benefit from it, use it efficiently, and then begin to add value back to the greater world beyond Nigeria. But let charity start from.
That's amazing. So the economic climate here in Nigeria is quite different from what we have in other places around the world. Entrepreneurs are tasked with the responsibility of actually building some of the core infrastructure, compared to places in the world where almost everything is built, you just have to plug and play. What are the key factors of success in an economy like ours, and what do you think that every entrepreneur should know?
You see, every problem is local. The challenges we have in Nigeria may not be challenges you have in other parts of the world. Take, for instance, under our human manager system, there was this issue of ghost workers. You probably don't have that, at least not as deeply as you have in African countries, as you have in the Western world. You go into an organization, and especially government, they will say they are paying 100,000 workers. But in reality, maybe you have just about 50,000 workers. Okay. So we had to come up with a solution. That was how biometrics came in. And even in the first phase of our solution, you discover that you do the biometrics for 50,000 people. Okay? Now, 50,000 people will get paid, but you see genuine workers come out and say they've not been paid. But 50,000 people were paid. You ask them, they bring their bank statements, and true, they were not paid. What happened? Even though you did biometrics in isolation for 50,000 people, you prepared payroll separately for 50,000 people. When the list is going to the bank, people will substitute names. Okay, so ghost workers will get paid. Genuine workers that you verified were not paid. So what did we do? We now started thinking of how to bring everything together. So you do the biometrics on the same platform, the payroll on the same platform, and the payment on the same platform. And that was part of what gave rise to our integrated solution. So you speak to the problems as they affect you. And in the area of payment, for instance, security-wise, Nigeria has done very well. Okay, I know we all talk about cybersecurity, financial fraud, but the level of security in Nigerian banking system is way better than what you have in many of the developed countries, because we know that we have some interesting guys around us here.
That's amazing. So, sir, over the years, you've built a lot of young minds that have gone on to do amazing things. And even now, you're at a stage where SystemSpecs have grown and is very advanced. How are you thinking about passing the mantle to the next generations? How are you implementing succession planning within your business?
By God's grace, I was 65 earlier this year. And it's clear that the pattern needs to change one way or the other. And part of what we've done is we've created subsidiaries. So we actually have 4 subsidiaries now. We have SystemSpecs Technologies, we have Human Manager Limited, we have a company called Dealer, and then of course we have Remita. These are 4 different companies managed by 3 gentlemen and a lady, and each of them really taking their place and owning the space. So I am gradually, if not fully, reasonably detached from the day-to-day operations, and I just maintain a supervisory view. I'm now free to go to work when I want. I also work from home, and so I just go in when I want to, and just to get feedback on what's going on. And the idea is for each of these people and their team to be able to run things while I still have the benefit of being able to give guidance when necessary.
Thank you so much for that, sir. So what are the last words you'd like to leave with the technology entrepreneurs listening to this right now?
Well, my first suggestion is don't just copy another company because you think they've succeeded. Okay, have your own ideas, and be very clear on the problem you want to solve. Many times people come up with solutions looking for a problem to solve. It should be the other way around, and success is a lot of hard work. If you're going to succeed in the tech space, you need to pay attention to details. You need to pay attention to quality. It calls for a lot of persistence. And AI is here. It's going to change the role of the game. The earlier you get into it, the easier things will be for you, because it obviously can do a lot of things for you that I encourage you to get into that game as soon as possible. Thank you. So, thank you very much, Precious, for all the JAMB exams. Time for me to ask one. Are you jackpotting soon? And if yes, what do you want the rest of us here to do? Because with 200 million Nigerians, 10% of us cannot jackpot. Okay. Even if 10% go, we are still left with 180 million. The remaining 180 million, how do you want us to survive?
Well, I'm a very strong believer in developing local solutions for our own environment.
Thank you.
And that's part of why I'm actually building Stylebitt in the first place. And the answer to am I jackpotting soon is actually, for now, it's no. But that's for now. The good thing about doing business is that it unlocks the opportunity to travel around the world. But if you can create local solutions in your local environment and make that environment better, then what are you going to look for somewhere else in the world? So no, I'm not going anywhere in the meantime. And I hope that even more people can follow in your footsteps and create solutions that change our environment, change the way our government do things, change the way people interact with their environment, and just make Nigeria a lot better.
A second question, how do you handle the issue of young people working with you in terms of their work culture, work attitude, and you needing to build a strong team? How are you able to get them motivated to work with you? Are they the equity holders in your business, or you pay them very well, or what is your plan along that way?
Well, Stylebitt is a very young business, and so I've not had like the length of experience with people coming in and going out as you've had.
Oh, prepare for that.
But in our own case, it's been like, because we're very young, we're still at this phase where we are selling this vision, and the members of my team see this vision and see that we can also actually build something that changes fashion in Africa and actually empowers people within the fashion space to actually do things that we are not currently doing as a continent. And so besides vision, we obviously have things like stock options in place, such things that enables people to actually stay and have a thought that, oh, this business can actually grow and I'll be able to benefit from the upside. So that's it, and that's how I've been able to keep my team.
Congratulations and best wishes.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, Mr. John Obaro, for sharing your wealth of experience. It's been a privilege to learn from you. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I hope you've learned so much just as I have. Bye for now.
Thank you for watching this episode of Journeys in Entrepreneurship. This interview was recorded on the 17th of November 2023 at Faith Foundation's office in Lagos. We look forward to hearing about your aha moments in the comment section below, and watch out for the next episode.